Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in Dr. Austin Mao. He is a lecturer at the International Institute of Journalism. Welcome, Dr. Mao.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to be here.
Likewise. Charles, good morning. How are you?
Yolanda, I'm as fine as can be, and I mean, we are the only non-beneficiaries of what is turning out to be a long weekend.
Yes.
4 days of a weekend plus public holiday.
We've missed out.
I wish I were out there sleeping.
That's a
but anyway, the job has to go on.
Yeah. What do we have in the newspapers this morning?
All right, so let's start with this day, and of course the flying headline there: Tinubu, Nigeria is greater than any one of us, including the president, urges brotherly love at Eid al-Fitr. Well, not unusual, because it is the festival of the breaking of the fast, Eid al-Fitr, and our Muslim brothers and sisters are in full celebration mode, and the message from the president is absolutely spot on. But then, of course, let's look at the riders here. He says power is temporary trust from God. Hence, he warned Wike he would lose his job if his development initiatives are tilted towards helping PDP, and so on. But that's the interesting part of it, Dr. Maho, the warning, because, you know, Wike did lead the delegation to visit the president at Eid al-Fitr, and he told Wike that, look, yes, you may be a member of the People's Democratic Party. You are a member of my cabinet now, so don't think you'll be a fifth columnist, because my eyes are on you. Yeah,
my eyes are on you. You know, at times political pundits have described Wike as a political hermaphrodite, right? Because he's neither he's PDP, but yes, very prominent in an APC administration.
That's right.
And he seems to have the full confidence of Mr. President. You know, for Mr. President to have said, you know, from the story, he made a request. Look, I don't want the FCT to be in the TSA, that's the single treasury account. Pull us out so that we can have access to funds to accelerate development in the Federal Capital Territory. And
he actually got his way.
Yeah, he got his way. And we have to give it to him, no matter what anybody feels about the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. He's a phenomenal performer. You know, at times I tell people that, look, Wike have proven that irrespective of the fact that he's from the opposition political party, you know, head-hunted to work in an APC administration, he has not held anything back. He's giving all, he's delivering. And we in the FCT, we see there are visible signs of his achievement, and we are happy with what he's doing.
Well, let's not forget that things are not very rosy between him and his party, the People's Democratic Party, even before the conclusion of the presidential elections that have actually brought him into the APC cabinet. And even at the moment, he's still not in really good terms with his own mother party. He has refused to leave the PDP. And also, the other part of it, his perceived role in the events in Rivers State, not very savory there. But let's give him the credit for the fact that,
at least for this role he's playing in bringing development to
the Federal Capital Territory. Absolutely spot on. Well, then we now move to the Vanguard newspaper, and of course it's about the very, very unfortunate incident that took place in Edo State, the Uromi killings. CDS, that's the Chief of Defense Staff, the Christian Association of Nigeria, and the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria seek justice for victims. And the story in a nutshell is that 16 hunters were killed by a mob in Uromi, Delta State. Or is it Uromi? Is it Delta?
It's in Edo State.
It's supposed to be in, okay, the newspaper says Delta State. So
it's a mistake.
Okay.
Uromi is in Edo State.
Absolutely. So this is a typographical error here. Anyway, so the governor of Edo State has suspended the head of the State Security Corps, Friday Ibadan, a retired commissioner of police. Now, excuse me, what exactly could have motivated a mob to attack 16 hunters believing they were kidnappers? Was it that they were involved in anything shady that brought that kind of unwanted attention, resulting in the deaths of 16 innocent Nigerians?
No, the incident that happened in Uromi, is very unfortunate, and is condemnable. We have to condemn it with the strongest words possible. However, we should not overlook the underlying factors, that give rise to this kind of occurrence. At times when I look at things like I say, I just conclude that, look, in Nigeria today we are all victims of insecurity, victim of non-state actors, victim of the federal government not being able, federal government, the security apparatus not being able to provide security for the average citizens. If you look at the background story, or at times in the media will say the backstory,
yes,
we will come to realize that there have been a lot of kidnapping, attacks of farmers who are going to their farm, in this area, in this vicinity within Edo State.
Yes.
So it creates an atmosphere naturally of suspicion.
Now,
when you now see a group of people, innocent as they turn out to be,
Yes.
moving armed, a group of 16 people or more moving, and they were armed, whether with Dane guns or whatever guns, the fact that they were armed. So they naturally attract undue attention to themselves by the fact that they are armed, and of course by the fact also of the recent occurrence within that vicinity. So it's unfortunate what happened, but we cannot put we put the blame on the government, on us as a people, the distrust that is high. However, I appreciate the fact that, look, everybody who is somebody in Nigeria has spoken about it, and the state government itself is taking measure to address the situation.
Absolutely.
From what you read,
yes,
by calling, the head of the vigilante security group in the state, to order by sacking him, and calling for a thorough investigation of what happened. We hope that at the end of the investigation, whatever measures that they come up with will be adopted, and we can go on and on. But the bottom line is that I hope this doesn't happen again.
It's rather unfortunate, Yolanda, because these men were traveling for the Eid al-Fitr festival in Kano. It's not as if they were traveling in secret. So, unfortunately, they were mistaken for kidnappers due to the traditional hunting tools they carried.
Yes.
Of course, maybe Dane guns and so on and so forth. And then, you know what? They were beaten and burned alive in an act of mob violence, denied any chance of due process. So I wonder, okay, you catch these people, so to say. You believe this is who they are because of what they are carrying. Why don't you just hand them over to the police?
Absolutely.
There's a question of the sea. That is why I said we can go on this issue. These same people, that's why I said there's a backstory to the front story. And the backstory is from these people, from some media report, like, look, we've been handing over people of this nature to the police in the past. And we discovered that they released them after a few days without doing thorough investigation of the issue. So that is why if we want to find a solution to this problem, it has to be holistic. Not just Uromi, but the entire country, and how we deal with the state of insecurity in Nigeria.
What I find particularly disheartening about this story is I saw a picture of the group of the hunters, and they were all smiling and happy, before this incident happened. And it brings a human angle to exactly what you're saying. Yes, there are these underlying factors about the insecurity that's going on in the country, but these are human beings. These are people like you and I, and it shows that, there's also, they're going back to families. In fact, there are families that are going to be celebrating the Eid without their loved ones, without their breadwinners, without the providers of their home. And it really does shed so much light on what you've just said about taking a deeper look, not just to the backstory, but also realizing that there are people who are purely victims of such circumstances, of being wrongfully accused,
Yeah.
you know, just because they look a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
Profiling.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it appears that the news gets even bleaker for Nigerians. Still in the vanguard, Nigerians to pay more for petrol amid domestic dispute and crude price hike. So what started as something we all thought would be, you know, of benefit to Nigerians ultimately is taking
a different
dimension altogether. The federal government's failure to renew the crude for Naira agreement between NNPC Limited and Dangote Refinery, along with the rising global crude oil prices, is set to push petrol pump prices higher across Nigeria in April and beyond. Now, the 6-month agreement, which expired in March, was initially brokered by the government last year. It allowed the national oil company to supply crude to the 650,000 barrel per day Dangote refinery with payments made in Naira. But at the moment, the price sold by Dangote at the pump is 820 Naira. But then following the failure of the two companies to renew the agreement, Dangote announced 2 weeks ago that it was halting the sale of petrol products to the domestic market in Naira. So that's the situation we're facing now, Dr. Maho. I mean,
no, the situation is as a result of increase in international price of crude oil.
Yes.
And if the domestic price of refined product in Nigeria is based on the international price of crude oil, it means it will always be in alignment. You know, what we are paying for is a reflection of what is happening in the international market.
Okay.
So at times you don't know whether to pray for increase in the international price of crude oil, because invariably it will mean more foreign inflow into the CBN, but at the same time, as a consumer of refined petroleum product, you are going to pay more.
That's right.
For refined petroleum products.
So
it's a double-edged sword, actually.
Yes, it is.
The problem with that inflow to the CBN account is that it hardly ever reflects on the lives of the ordinary Nigerian. So for the ordinary Nigerian, look, it doesn't matter. Let the prices at the international market be lower. It is better to our advantage, because we get the product for free. In any case, this is what we are producing in our country. And
why we not reaping the benefit?
Exactly. We have to
the argument you are making is for subsidy. It will amount to maybe a retention, or the government should bring back subsidy, because the only way,
some way, even if it's not subsidy, there has to be some way.
Or when people make the same argument about, you know, NNPC selling crude oil to Dangote refinery in Naira, some people have made the contrary argument that it doesn't really amount to anything, because at the end of the day, when you give crude oil to Dangote in Naira, Nigeria, NNPC is losing out because it's not able to sell that crude oil to get foreign exchange into the country. And I think that is where the problem is. Because if we are able to solve this problem and ensure that, look, like you are saying, let there be a balance. And at the end of the day, it is the people that matters. How to bring down the cost of refined petroleum product in the domestic market. That's what Nigerians want to see, and not these technicalities of high price of crude oil, or whether you are selling crude to Dangote in Naira or not.
Well, the drama continues, and this time around it's in The Guardian. Let's go over to The Guardian now. Very, very interesting series of headlines. Eid al-Fitr, Tinubu, Sultan preached love and amid calls for well-being, better governance. Tinubu hails Okpobolo's education reforms. Of course, the governor of Edo State is actually facing a security situation and is actually coming down really hard on people. But then, the very interesting one here, I'll share with authorities evidence of theft under Fubara, says Nweke. And that's the former head of service in Rivers State, George Nweke, who has alleged that the theft of public funds under the suspended governor Siminalayi Fubara is mind-boggling. Now, this gets more interesting. Nweke's kinsmen of Omuma local council have distanced themselves from the allegations he has leveled against Fubara, and the concerned Omuma stakeholders say it was disappointing that Nweke is being allowed to use himself to destroy the state, and Fubara actually echoed the same thing, that Mr. Nweke is actually being encouraged to lie against him. The drama in River State never ends.
Yeah, it's a deep and confusing drama. The more you try to understand,
the more you look, the less you see.
Yeah, the more you try to understand the situation playing out in River State, the less you understand and the more confused you are. The question to me is, why is he coming out now? Why is he making all those allegations? Where is the proof behind those allegations?
He said he's willing to provide evidence.
Well,
but you know, his own people are saying that, look, whatever it is you're doing, you're strictly on your own.
Yeah, you understand.
Allow me to ask a question, please. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I've been following this story over the weekend, and I heard the HOS's wife saying that, you know, she raised the alarm that her husband was missing.
Kidnapped,
but the way
probably, yeah.
Absolutely. But the way the story was doused down didn't quite make sense to me. Could you shed some light to that? Because it's I'm confused at how that may have come about.
Yeah, it's part of the confusion in the whole thing. The husband left home without telling the wife where he was going to, and the next thing, the wife switched on the television and is seeing the husband making accusation.
But she said he was kidnapped.
And
wow.
He the man himself, Wiki himself, eventually recanted, made another video to say I was not kidnapped, but in fact it was in these premises at the Hilton.
Absolutely, yes, I saw that.
Yeah, moving around and said, look at me, I'm free, I'm not kidnapped. Whatever statement I issued earlier on, I issued based on my personal evolution in order to, you know, bring light, in quotes, to happenings in River State. However, that it is what it is. It's confusing. All what I see in it all is that since he said he has the evidence to back up his claim, we wait. Because like I always say, we in the media will talk about the front story and the back story. There's a lot of back story to this.
Oh, yes.
You know, people have come to make counter accusation and why he's saying what he's saying now. But if he say he has evidence, we'll wait to see the evidence so that we can put all this issue to rest. But I can assure you that in the next, at least in the next 6 months, the issue in River State will remain at the front burner.
Oh, well. It's not just River State that has an issue on the front burner. I mean, the drama also continues in Lagos. So that takes us to the Punch newspaper. Most of the headlines here are the things that we have already addressed. The petrol price to rise more as Naira for crude wobbles. CDS squad goes after killers as Okpebolo consult governors. That's the question, the story of the lynched travelers. But then the interesting one here, you know, at the bottom of the front page, Obasa pursues suit against Miranda lawmakers despite Tinubu's intervention. And so it's not done and dusted yet in the Lagos State House of Assembly. And the story goes thus: Chief Afolabi Fashanu, counsel for the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, for the umpteenth time, has dismissed speculations that his principal would be dropping the suit against erstwhile Speaker Mojisola Miranda and the members of the State House of Assembly. Now, this is despite the recent intervention by the President in resolving the leadership crisis at the Lagos Assembly, with sources maintaining that part of the settlement was for Obasa to withdraw the suit against his colleagues. So it appears the sitting speaker is reneging on an agreement that returned him to power and apparently is set to continue his vendetta against those who staged the coup against him when he was absent.
Was he a coup?
Well, it was a
question of
he was not there. He had traveled abroad, and then in his absence, they convened, you know, a sitting and then impeached him without giving him the right to reply.
No, nobody has said his impeachment was not valid. And even those that said his impeachment was not valid, they've not been able to prove that it was invalid. If you have a house of about 37 members and 32 sign your impeachment, it's valid.
Okay.
irrespective of whatever reason you are giving. It's only the intervention of Mr. President, you know, rightly or wrongly. Some people have questioned his intervention to when you have a sitting speaker. You now tell the speaker to resign for no reason. Then you now tell the SY speaker, oh, yeah, come and take back your seat. Based on agreement that we don't know. We're only reading the pages of the newspaper that one of the conditions for his reinstatement was that he will have to withdraw his case from court. We are not aware. But what is before us, what is in the public domain is simple and clear. He returned. He was removed legally. He returned questionably. And as it is, he's reneging on his promise to Mr. President.
Okay, so the question now would be that if he's pursuing this lawsuit, it's to what effect?
Right.
Is it that he intends to get those who removed him jailed? And, you know, that's that's even the majority of the House. I mean, if you're talking about 32 members, including his former deputy, Miranda, then what is he hoping to achieve? Because
with this,
this line of action that he's pursuing at the moment would rather divide the House. So, I mean, the question remains, what is Obasa aiming to achieve by pursuing this line of action?
Certainly, nobody can tell. But whatever, a lot of people have attributed what is happening in Lagos State to the politics of 2027, and of course, in Rivers State also, people have attributed what is happening there to the politics of 2027. And unfortunately, we live in a country where we are in a perpetual election mode. You know, people, like I always say, before election we fight, during election we fight, after election we fight. So when do our leaders have, you know, the time to really address the problem of governance for which they were elected?
Oh, well, thank you so very much, Dr. Maho. We just didn't have enough time to look at the foreign papers today,
Exactly.
Yolanda. Well, because we discussed
okay.
Practically.
It's a holiday after
Oh,
all.
well. Yeah, so maybe the very next day we'll definitely prioritize the papers because I actually saw some very interesting headlines there.
Yes.
But this is many thanks to our guest today, Dr. Austin Maho, a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News.